talking to our MD Dan about some of our client success stories across Think, Act and Apply. Can we start with Think, Dan? Can you tell me about how we've engaged and worked with a client around Think?
Sure. I mean, in Think there are a number of different kind of products, I'd say, in terms of consulting that we offer. I'll talk about two of them as case studies at the moment. The first one really was a grocer retailer that came to us and said, we don't really know how to handle some of the disruption that's happening in our market. There'd been a large public acquisition from a tech giant, and I think that kind of basically sent some fear into them. And how do we set ourselves up to deal with the kind of disruption that may cause? And so that was very much around going in and doing a gap analysis within their organisation and looking at their organisation from a people and process perspective and then a technology perspective, and seeing where they stood in terms of how they could react to that disruption, coming back and establishing the gap, and then saying, okay, well, for you to be able to be ready to deal with that, this is the kind of investments you need to make across those areas, which gave them the kind of business case to be able to go on and justify the changes they needed to make in their business. The other one was working for an automotive parts retailer who was very much was stuck in a long program of technology delivery, and what they really needed to do was pause and work out why it wasn't getting delivered. And so we used some what you would typically call a root cause analysis, and that was very much around, did they have the right people in place, had they acquired the right technology in the first place, and what were really the barriers that were kind of preventing them from actually getting the project delivered and over the line. And so two very different kind of products that we offer within Think, but also gave the same result, which was essentially mandate and business justification for further investment.
We engage with clients for programme delivery around ACT. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of the successes we're having there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a large automotive parts retailer that we're working with. They required a better view of the customer. They also required an ability to automate some of their marketing processes and some of their campaigns. And so we went through the process of essentially using technology or a number of data management, customer data management tools to design and construct a single customer view for them. So bringing all of their disparate data sources together to create a single view of the customer, and we then applied some campaign automation platforms on top of that. And we do that in a very much in an agile fashion. So essentially for them particularly, it was a bit of a jar in the way they'd worked, because they typically worked in waterfall in terms of program project delivery. And so what we had done is we kind of changed the mindset of how they worked, moved them into agile, which meant they were getting delivery at each stage of the process. So that's a really good example, and the benefit that there's been for that particular retailer has been a tenfold increase in sales. So it's a very good case study from their perspective and a good case study from our perspective. The other example I'm thinking of was again another similar project, a large grocer retailer that couldn't really deal with some of the disruption that was coming into their marketplace, because they didn't really have enough people, and they didn't have the kind of technology and processes in place to be able to deal with that disruption and to be able to talk to their customers more personally and create all the benefits from personalisation. So again, it was a similar process. They first of all, they needed a single customer view. They needed to bring all their data sets together so they could better understand who their customers were. So we went through a process of assessing the right technology and then implementing that, again working in an agile fashion. So very similar, output very the same, but the methods we use are different across all of the different technologies we work with.
Often post-programme delivery, that's where a consultancy similar to ours may finish the engagement, because that's the end of the programme, we've delivered. But we have an additional sort of area of services that we move into at that point, which we call Apply. Can you talk a little bit about how clients are benefiting from that?
Yeah, I mean, Apply is very much, as we've talked about the application of technology and the application of some of the kind of strategies that we've recommended. a good example of that is actually one particular retailing client that we're working with. They needed to redesign the operational structure of their marketing department, so it's very much about operating model change. And so basically it was about augmenting some of their team, but also getting the right people in place from their side, doing the right roles. But then it was about getting the value out of the technology, so it's about putting people in that could really understand how to create a multi-channel, cross-channel campaign, which they hadn't been able to do before, and then be able to pass those things on. So the application of the technology and how that technology should be actually being used within an organisation, and putting the right skill sets in to be able to do that. On the flip side of that, there was a client who essentially were struggling with data stewardship and data management within their organisation, and what they really needed was somebody to help explain the benefits of that, but then also act and apply those benefits within the organisation. So actually putting a formal data stewardship process in place, and then actually helping them find the right person to be able to deliver that.
We have a very successful area of our business which is around recruitment, so our talent function. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Talent is really interesting at the moment. I think it's one of the areas that businesses struggle with the most. It causes the most financial pain for them because of the whole hiring process, and the costs associated with that. But I think the market is changing, and again, it's about finding access to the right people. So from our perspective, the clients that we've got come to us because we have good expertise in particular disciplines that dovetails nicely into the consultancy that we work with in terms of our own consultants. So they're there to help us hire into our business, but also to help us hire into our clients' businesses. So particularly across the IT sphere and marketing spheres, we've got subject matter experts that sit very much in those areas and have built up their own talent pools, their own areas of which they can dip from. And so we have relationships with everything from one of the big four consulting firms all the way through to a startup technology firm that's basically an aggregator for private jets. So it's quite broad, but it's always around the IT and marketing disciplines.
Great, thank you.